welcome. My name is Thomas, and this is an astrology video for Lighthouse Yoga in Evanston, Illinois. And this is a beautiful star chart. Just pulled this off the internet and thought I'd use this as the backdrop for today. The center of the star chart, it kind of looks like the sun. And as appealing and aesthetically beautiful as that is, it can be a little bit misleading. For one, at the center of a star chart, if you were to look at your birth chart or any circular star chart, we're meant to put the Earth in the middle. So the circle of the zodiac is around the Earth, right? It is an extension of the ecliptic, or the path of the planets. So we know that the Earth is in the center. So please, for the purposes of your own understanding, shift that sun that looks like in the middle of this circle to the Earth. The sun, of course, is what moves through the zodiac, and it's primarily the sun's path that designates the zodiac. So it's the sun that moves from over there on the left-hand side through Aries, through Taurus, through Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Sagittarius, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. So that's the first thing I wanted to say about this chart. And the second is thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you for watching. If you are able to help us out, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share the video if you found anything useful. Really appreciate it, and it certainly helps us to share this information with more people. So thank you very much for that. Wanted to just talk about why astrology today, why it's so interesting, why it's so useful. I have a couple of things I wanted to read, just some notes that I made on my own. What I find so fascinating and so useful about astrology, and why I think it's worth studying. So one of the main reasons is that there's really no better or more complete system for understanding the world around you and your place in it. And this is for the simple reason that you are the same as that which you behold. Right? So we operate from this understanding of as above, so below, or as without, so within. And you could certainly flip that around, as below, so above, and as within, so without. So the world around us is a reflection of ourselves, and we are a reflection of the world around us. So it's kind of a two-way street, a two-way mirror. It goes both ways. Everything is a reflection of everything else. And the collective situation is a reflection of the collective mindset, of the collective experience. So we can understand things from this level, and it really, really helps us to see things from this perspective, because it is much more complete. It's much more what we would say is holistic. So that's the first thing, and that what happens around us affects us, and this is obvious, right? If it's a rainy day, if it's a sunny day, if it's hot, if it's cold, that affects us, and what happens within us is then reflected by the world around us and what happens around us. And if we learn to navigate this with the interface, with the aid of the star chart, it is not only possible, but it is preferable, right? So not only is it possible to use the star chart as a means for interpreting what's going on, it is really, really helpful because it offers this larger framework. And there really is no better framework for looking holistically at any problem or a situation. We can see all the players in the drama, all the opposing and complementary forces, and they're shown in their complexity and in their fullness. It takes time and it takes repetition to learn these things and to see the patterns that are displayed in the heavens, and to learn the symbols, right, and to see how all of these things fit together. So it's with this in mind that we move patiently through this kind of teaching, right? It's not going to come to you right away that you're going to learn all the symbols in a day. you're going to learn all the attributes in a day. You can certainly memorize them and you can have them at recall, but to really feel them, to really see them, it definitely takes a little bit more time. So of course in astrology we have lots of questions. People come to astrology and they want answers, right? And there are many questions and they have partial answers depending on who you talk to. And they only provide a single viewpoint or a sole explanation for complex problems, right? Every problem that we have usually is coming from multiple angles, or it has at least more than one, more than two, more than three factors that are at play. And astrology offers a holistic perspective and addresses questions from all sides, right? From within and from without, right? So these are all the reasons why we can really understand what's going on, or why astrology is so helpful for helping us to understand, because you really can't understand what's happening around you or within you if you don't have this perspective. If there's no understanding of your inner drives and impulses, then you will continue to make mistakes and call them accidents or unfortunate circumstances. Right? The birth chart puts the earth and you on the earth, in the center of the wheel. You are in the center and you have achieved proper perspective. Even though everything seems to be happening outside, we can interpret it as a reflection of our inner state. All the forces are circling and spinning around you, and we can see these forces at play in our own lives. The importance of this context cannot be overstated, or its utility oversold. Without the recognition of all the influences at play, we will be more confused, and our actions only partial and incomplete. Astrology is more scientific than many of the so-called sciences. It takes into account the forces we cannot perceive with our usual senses. We can see the electromagnetic aura of a human or planet with the aid of complex instrumentation, but not with our own eyes. We know radio waves, Bluetooth, and Wi-Fi signals are flowing everywhere, and we cannot detect them with our gross senses. And which is totally true, right? We look at this, we look in the world, and right now your computer or your phone is receiving the signals, right, that you cannot see, but of course they're working because you're watching this video. And unless we validate and give voice to all the inner workings reflected in the cosmos, then we are functioning with incomplete data. We are taking a journey without the proper equipment and thinking we are prepared for anything. Just thinking about this for a moment, right? The more tools you have at your disposal, the more information that you have, the better suited you are to make any decision. Right? You don't have to, go it alone. Right? You don't have to rely on purely the advice of others. Right? You can use this tool as a way to help you make your own decisions and your own interpretations about what's happening around in the world. If we look at the surface of any given problem, we are inclined to make corrections based on our desire to fix what we see. For instance, the car that was damaged in a minor fender bender. We take the car to the body shop, and after a day or two, we pick it up looking like new. Under the hood, however, the air filter is loose and leaking as a result of the accident and will soon cause the car to break down. Astrology seeks to take a look under the hood and take a full diagnostic evaluation before we try to fix anything. Of course, a human life is much more complex than any vehicle, and it may be that all that is required is a shift in perspective. Simply being aware of our tendencies and patterns helps us to understand the why and the how of things, if not granted us the ability to see with new eyes and to make necessary changes. Consider the utility of this perspective. You have all the different planets, right, as aspects of yourself. Right? We recognize the planets are correlated with the 7 chakras, and the 7 chakras are energy centers and modes of functioning in the world. And these modes of functioning are then further influenced by their position in the heavens and by their position with regard to the background of stars. And then we see the influence of that in relationship to their rising and the setting on the earth. Right? And all of this then goes into our interpretation of a star chart, right? Both from the time of birth and also on a daily basis, weekly or monthly basis. Right? We see the rising and the setting of the sun. We see the phases of the moon, right? The relationship from the first quarter to the second quarter and the third quarter square, right? And when we see these new moons and full moons, right, and we recognize that all the planets have similar cycles, right? And the sun in relationship to Mars, right? Or Mars, we should say, in relationship to the sun, has a conjunction, has a first quarter, has an opposition, and a third quarter phase. Right? Venus, Mercury, they all have conjunctions, right? Which would be the new moon phase, first quarter, opposition, third quarter, and then again conjunction. Right? So each planet goes through these cycles. And then we also see planets have cycles within cycles. Right? We're coming up soon on a very significant conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter. And Saturn and Jupiter will be conjunct this winter solstice. And the last time they were conjunct was 20 years ago. So that could be considered a new moon phase, right? When Saturn and Jupiter are conjunct, it's a new moon phase. And then in about 5 years, 6 years, there will be a first quarter square with Saturn. As Jupiter moves faster than Saturn, Jupiter will reach out, and in about 6 years, there'll be that first quarter square. In about 10 to 12 years, there will be the opposition. Another 6 years or so, 5, 6 years, there'll be the third quarter square. And then again, 20, 19, 20, 21 years, there's going to be the next Saturn and Jupiter conjunction. Right? And these phases and these movements take place with all the planets, right? And each one of them is significant in their own way, right? The Saturn-Jupiter conjunction is considered to be so significant because these were the outer two planets, right? What were considered before telescopic vision, before electro telescopes, electron telescopes, right? We were only able to see as far as Saturn. And Saturn was considered to be the outermost planet, and then Jupiter the second to the last. Right? And so the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction is in many ways a kind of yin and yang conjunction, because Saturn is sensitivity and restriction, and Jupiter is expansion and exuberance. Right? And so that exuberance comes and meets head on with sensitivity. And these two planets, as they come together, always present a certain spark, right? A certain shift in our ability to understand what's going on, because we feel both expansive and sensitive, right? We have both this desire to break free and the desire to hold and maintain. So it is slightly difficult because it presents that challenge both psychologically and physically, right, emotionally and spiritually. So we're seeing this very significant conjunction take place in Saturn's house of Capricorn this year. So that's going to be right at the very earliest degrees of Capricorn. If you're a Western astrologer, you're going to be interpreting this as in the very early degrees of Aquarius. And really, either way, Saturn is going to win, because Saturn is at home in both Capricorn and Aquarius. It rules those two houses. Jupiter rules Pisces and Sagittarius, and Jupiter is going to be debilitated in Capricorn, and certainly it's not going to be doing and faring any better over there in Aquarius. So either way, Saturn is up to bat, and Saturn will have the final say, according to my interpretation, to our interpretation. So that's a very interesting one to look out for in the coming months, right? That it takes place not too long after the election here in this country. Should be pretty interesting, because of course these forces, because these cycles take so long, it doesn't just happen over one day or 1 minute or the exact moment of the conjunction, although we're certainly looking at the exact moment of the conjunction as being particularly significant because it is within just hours of the true solstice. So that conjunction, the solstice, really quite a rare celestial event. that's taking place this year, this winter solstice. So that's probably enough for today. Hope this video was interesting for you. Hope you got a little bit of insight into why astrology is so useful, because it offers us this very, very vast perspective. And sometimes all the different variables can seem a little bit dizzying. But once we learn them and once we establish that framework, we can really see the utility of working within that framework. So please leave me any questions. Let me know what you thought of the video in the comments, and I look forward to talking to you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.